Mark portrays Jesus throughout his gospel with a lot of different images, predominantly that of the suffering servant. Like the rest of the gospels, the true author of Mark is unknown. Tradition refers to Mark as being John Mark, who is a relative of Barnabas. But for a number of source-critical reasons, scholars are leaning away from that interpretation and have suggested that Mark is actually an unknown author. It's just a name that was given to the gospel. More important than who wrote Mark is when was Mark written and what was going on during that time. Mark was written sometime in the late 60s. That's first century 60s. Somewhere around 67 to 70 AD. Mark's audience are Gentile Christians who are going through persecutions. More than likely, Mark himself was a Gentile. Don't forget, Gentile means non-Jew. How do we know that his audience were people going through persecutions? Well, again, the date, 67. Christian persecution started around 63 and were ongoing up until the time of Constantine in the 4th century. There is a theme of true discipleship in Mark's gospel, and it asks the question of the reader, are you a true disciple? You can claim to be a follower of Christ now. You can claim to be a Christian, but when the goings get tough, do the tough get going? Are you going to be there for the faith? Are you going to defend the faith? Are you willing to die for the faith? You'll see throughout this unit that there are plenty of disciples and followers that miss the mark. Pun intended. Because Mark was a Gentile and he was writing to Gentiles, there's not a whole lot of references to Judaism. Also, Mark is also the shortest gospel and the most fast-paced. This is a gospel where Jesus is on the go. He's more of a doer than he is a talker. He actually teaches by example. The image that Mark paints of Jesus for us is that Jesus is the suffering servant of God. This can explain why Jesus is a person of action. He's a person of deed, and not so much a person of words. Servants aren't meant to talk. Mark portrays Jesus this way for a number of reasons. One is to show us what it means to be a true disciple. Again, if there are Christians during the time of Mark that are abandoning their faith, they're falling short of discipleship. Mark's gospel does not contain any genealogies of Christ. The theory for that is either A, Mark did not know the genealogy of Christ, or B, servants don't have genealogies. So staying true to the image of Jesus as a servant, it doesn't matter where he came from. And so Mark leaves out the genealogy. Mark's gospel is pretty primitively written. The Greek is very elementary. Whereas Mark is like a 4th grade writing style, John is like a college professor writing style. It is the shortest of the 4 canonical Gospels. So our focus in this unit is going to be Jesus as a model, and we are his disciples.